What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. We be minding our business. So today I'm minding my business. This is a platform to help you elevate your business, your mindset, and overall your life. I have a really amazing special guest on, Kristina, and just waiting for her to hop on real fast. Hello.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. We've been talking and talking, and we finally made it happen.
You know, this is what I had to do. Number one, to make new friends, and number two, to also like friends that I wanted in my inner circle to sit at a table with, and also to stay connected with my friends, like all my friends, which is amazing because it's what I wanted, was to be like high achievers, producers, productive, and with that, it's always easier to never easy, but it's I guess it's smoother when it's something productive. So. Yeah, thank you so much for being on. For those of you that do not know Kristina Crichton, I said that right?
Perfect.
Okay. She is a partner with Elena Cardone, Realtor I think it's Expo. You said EXP.
Mm-hmm.
You're a speaker, a coach, executive producer with Absolute Enterprise, which I was like, wow, this woman is like everything. Real estate investor, photography, video, editing, marketing. What don't you do? You're a super mom. You're a powerful woman.
Let's go. We like it, right?
Exactly. So I hope I covered everything. Is there anything else in the space that you're becoming?
I think I'm just becoming aware of the power that I have. And that's something that I think as human beings, we all, as we get older, hopefully become more aware of how much we do, and sometimes we just don't give ourselves enough credit, and it's, you know, it's a powerful thing to realize, wow, I actually do a lot of things, and that's amazing. And give yourself a pat on the back sometimes, you know.
Yes. Well, that's why I wanted to have you on. Like, this platform was really created to celebrate other women that have created a lane for themselves, and that's just minding my business, be your best self, elevate your life, your business, and your mindset, and to be able to share some of your knowledge of what keeps you operating at high levels, regardless of life circumstance or what's going on, and how you're still able to execute and help maybe other women that are on the climb, and you know, for just to support each other, but mostly to celebrate you and to talk about you today. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Any questions that you have, I'm here.
Yeah, it's very conversational. So what is it? How did you get into the line of work that you're in today? We'll start there.
That's a great question, and there's so many different answers to it. But I think if I go all the way back to the beginning, I think I fell in love with real estate playing Monopoly. No joke. As a little girl here in America, it's one of the games that I just really enjoy playing with my next door neighbor, Jonathan, and him and I were very, very competitive collecting properties. And it's funny because we played Monopoly last night, because I'm like, all right, we got some serious goals and in real estate in the next 45 days. And the only way that I can kind of take my mind off of the pressure and all the things that have to happen is by having a little bit of fun, because fun is the only way that makes the journey sometimes more exciting and takes that insanity and moves it out of the way. You know what I mean? So I played Monopoly as a little kid. And then when I was in my 20s, I started a company with my ex-husband. And my goal was to acquire the whole plaza that we had our business in. And the plaza at the time was about, I think, $11 million. I wanted to own commercial real estate because in my head, I played so much Monopoly. I'm like, I'm going to own pieces of the block. So long story short, the marriage didn't work out. Parted ways. So this was a perfect opportunity for me to go into real estate and pursue it full time. So complete career shift. And yeah, that was about 7 years ago. And now I'm working alongside Elena with her incredible brand awareness. Her energy, her purpose is aligned with my purpose of helping women, men, anyone that has gone through some hardships, but want to overcome anything in life by being around people that are doing more and in alignment with what they want in their life, and ultimately want to help others achieve the same level, if not more success.
Yeah.
So to me, that's really powerful. So yeah, I love real estate. I love helping our team. I see Angela's on the live, JC's on live, Shane.
You got a lot of love here.
Yes, I got an amazing team.
Yeah, and so I think one thing too, like we talk a lot about, and just the bigger concept of life, you know, working around a lot of high-end entrepreneurs and people doing amazing things in the world, and leading new paths, creating new pathways, is that sometimes you get wrapped up in the concept of what I do is who I am. And that was another thing that I wanted to make sure that, and a lot of times when people go down that route, they determine their self-worth based on their net worth. Mm-hmm. And the process of climbing, expanding, and building, there's going to be a lot of trial error. There's going to be a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of, like you mentioned, you have fun. But what are some other ways that you keep focused in life when you feel like it's very overwhelming, or it's too much, or you feel like you can't handle all the responsibilities?
That's such a great question. And I think, you know, I'm actually like going through this right now. I love moving at fast pace. I love moving fast. I love when things go in different directions. Like I get excitement from it. But in my 20s, I lived off of that high, off of that edge. And now I'm just realizing I can't operate on that anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm 36 now, and it's something that I have to be more mindful and be intentional with my energy, because my energy, you know, I'm a single mom. I have to make sure that I allocate enough energy to my family. I have to make sure I allocate enough energy towards my clients, my team. So, you know, I have to practice being still. And this is another thing is, right, like you talk about wealth and defining who you are. If you don't appreciate your self-worth now, no matter how much money you have, it's just going to amplify that, whatever that you are, you know. And I've been around so many different people, and I even remember myself in a different mindset that I was in, you know, 10 years ago, right? I remember when I achieved so much success with my ex-husband, and I was just like, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm better than everybody because I've achieved this success by 27 years old. I have a family, I have a loving husband, I have all this money. And then, you know, I'm very spiritual. God, like, had a different plan for me. And you know, I can only imagine if I continued with that mindset into more abundance and more wealth, it would have been destructive. So it was great opportunity for me to rebuild my mindset and just be like, who am I at the center of all of the wealth that I am building, no matter how much money I have in the bank. And at the core of it is I'm a giver. Like I love people. I love people so much that sometimes I give more to people than I give to myself. And that's something that I'm practicing more, to be a little bit more selfish with me, because I am more aware now that I actually do give a lot. In the past, I wouldn't appreciate that. I wouldn't even acknowledge myself. And I think as women, maybe some men too, can relate to that. So being able to slow down and say, hey, I'm important too. So no matter how much money in the bank I have, I'm still going to be Kristina. I will help you if I can. If I can't, I will find a way to help you. But I'm definitely more present to me and what value I add to me and to others. And so I practice being still. I practice being, self-care, Carlos, exactly. Being me, and then just keep doing what I'm doing without burning out, even though that's still something like I will push my limits. I like doing that. But another thing that
you know, who you're surrounded by, of course. Well, there's nothing wrong with putting that healthy pressure. I mean, we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable positions for our greatest growth. I mean, that's how diamonds are discovered, is under high intense pressure, or else you're not gonna see where you can go. But I think it's also like, I love to know what are like healthy tools that you've maybe adapted or you want to incorporate, that you mentioned a lot about being present and slowing down a little bit more, not in the sense where you're like slowing down what you're doing, but maybe like, what do you mean by that?
That's a great question. And I'll definitely clarify that. So slowing down. So my day, I think 9 o'clock, it's go time. My only time to me is in the morning. And so waking up earlier, which means I have to go to bed earlier. So that way in the morning, I'm with my thoughts. I am able to think. I'm able to kind of envision where I'm going. I'm able to take care of my body. I'm able to read books or listen to them. We had a debate about that with my team. But putting new ideas into your mind so that way your old programming is not running. And you can't rewire your mind going a million miles an hour, which I still do after 9 o'clock, but I still have to be more still. And I also practice breathing. Like after morning meetings, I go outside and I just breathe. I listen to like meditation music or jazz or some kind of calming music, and just kind of write my goals down, any ideas that come. What else? Water. I mean, taking care of my body is super important. Mind in the morning, so listening to books. I pray and meditate, breathe, all the healthy things they tell you to do when you're younger. You don't pay attention until you realize, oh crap, I kind of need to do that because
But it's foundation. It's foundation. But what I realized actually really fascinating, because I've been teaching this course on procrastination, and the fascinating thing about procrastination, with even procrastination taking care of ourselves, is that it's actually an emotional regulator. That's why we engage in that aspect. And so, you know, what you're saying is what I've actually recently discovered was it came down to the segment of how we place our level of importance, and that like, I don't have time to take care of myself. Well, how do you not have time? Like, you're the most important person in your life, and you got a lot of responsibilities, and they all rely on you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that this year has all been about that. I mean, the moment I joined Yelena's team with EXP Realty, I mean, the excitement of it and just how many people, the exposure, and then you just want to keep going and going, but eventually you do burn out. And I'm grateful that I have Yelena as a mentor to remind me to, you know, it's okay to take some time in your day to just be still and practice that every day. And I've been doing that because I can't keep going. I just don't show up with the right intention, with the right energy to receive abundance, but also give it, you know?
Yeah. And plus you have a son that it seems like he's your pride and joy.
Yep.
Son
and daughter. Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened?
It's my son and daughter. So Lex is 10 and Mila is 13.
Wow. So that's a whole nother job on its own.
Yeah. It is a challenge sometimes, but it's a fun challenge. I'm grateful that they are at the age that they are, because I wouldn't have been able to move this quickly and be able to scale at the level that I'm scaling if they were younger, because when they're younger, they require a little bit more hands-on and just teaching them principles and lessons in life that will carry them through their life. That I just, you know, I'm sure, you know, you've noticed some people don't have these principles in life. And to me, it's so important to raise productive human beings that will add to this world instead of take away.
Yeah, and that's a full-time job on its own. I mean, let alone you've got like 3 full-time jobs: taking care of yourself, taking care of your children, and then not even taking care of like raising efficient, powerful human beings, and then also building your own empire and partnering with some elite people that I think is internationally known.
Yeah.
And so how are you able to separate, or do you separate the business from your family time? Like, how are you able to segment those areas of you, your children, and your business?
Absolutely. Great question. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes like this weekend on Sunday, I've really made an intention to take a day off and be present with my kids and not make myself all crazy and feel guilty if I'm not working. If there are a couple things that flare up that need my attention, like for example, I needed to get our newest listing in Miami in Midtown ready. So we just stopped by, looked at it, made sure that all the little things needed to be fixed. My kids were with me. And that took 15 minutes, and then we went and carried on our day. So my kids get to see that. Sometimes they come to my open houses on Saturdays and help out. I really got them enrolled as much as I could possibly get them enrolled to be on the mission with me, so they can be an asset and understand why I'm doing all of this, right? It's not really. I remember when we had that disconnect, and then I would get angry at them because they didn't understand why I'm frantic working so hard. And that work is to provide a better life for them to be receivers of the fruits of my labor. So, and now they're enrolled, they're Mila is a little entrepreneur. Lex is getting there. He's 10. He's still figuring out. But we allocate time for one another on Sundays, and then towards the end of the day, like yesterday, we were playing Monopoly just to kind of take our mind off of all of the fires that I usually put out or problems that I'm looking to solve. So it really, you got to put that time on the calendar.
I think that's so amazing that you say that, and it makes me like, you know, I know there's a lot of people that it can go either way when it comes to parenting, and it's like you literally are, it's like a business from what I've heard. I'm not a parent, so I'm a plant mom, but other than that, but what I'm hearing too is it's like you mentioned that you learned how to get them on your team, and so that you guys form an alliance and they become an asset. How were you able to make that shift? Because it sounded like you said, like, at first they were frustrated and then they got on the team. Like, how were you able to get them to, I guess, like, assign them roles and help you out more?
Yeah. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, I think for the last few years, my kids, like, I don't do laundry. I don't do dishes. Like, my kids just naturally, just repetition, right? Like human beings, we practice over and over and then we adapt it. I told the kids, I don't have time to do this and I need your help to get it done. So that way I can go win these deals, close them, and then we can take a fabulous vacation or spend more time together. So, and then I asked them, where would you want to go? Or, for example, one of the things that I love doing is for birthdays. Do you want to have a birthday party, or do you want to go have an experience somewhere, travel? So really painting a picture of what they want and giving them the opportunity to design their future. But also they have to realize that mom has to put in a lot of the work, and they have to be an extension of me to help me get there. So they, you know, that's why I was saying I'm grateful that they are this age now, because it's easier for them to understand that, versus when they were little, they actually need that. They need more of that attention and the explanation. And I remember taking them, you know, to places, like they just need more attention than they do now.
Yeah, I think because that was a big one. I know, like, when I sometimes work with women entrepreneurs that are running companies and then running the home and then trying to figure out how to take care of themselves, the biggest challenge was not asking for help.
Yeah, that was me. That was me. I mean, that was me 6 years ago. I didn't want anyone to help me. I didn't want anyone's help. I was in my bubble. I went through something very painful, and I'm just like, no, it's me and the kids, and that's it. And I just kind of lived on the superficial. People thought everything's great, everything's fabulous, but I lost a lot of people in my life because I just wouldn't let anyone into my circle. And I think early last year, what year are we on? 2021, I made a decision. I'm like, I gotta hire an assistant because I can't keep going like this. I can't, you know, like if you're putting in so much effort, you're not seeing the results fast enough because you're focused on too many little things. Like if you really think about it, like what little things are you doing in your life that are complete waste of your time? Like for me, it's a waste of my time to do dishes, to do laundry, to clean, because my time is more expensive going out there and pulling in mega $1 million deals and thinking about people I need to reach out than doing, you know, something that I can outsource and pay someone else to do, you know? And I think that's a different mindset that's required in and of itself, because a lot of people, like including myself, I grew up really poor. So like my mom's like, you gotta be in charge of your life. You gotta do everything yourself. And that's not practical. Like for you to go to higher levels of success, you have to do things on a higher level of, you know, operation, which involves people helping you. So that took a while to adapt and relinquish control, because I'm a control freak. I want things done my way. And now with a team, I got to learn to trust and listen to other people's opinions.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, I know a lot of people where they would like, you did everything for so long on your own, you develop that habit, and then you want to let go of the reins and delegate, but then you don't trust anybody to do the job correctly.
Yeah, I remember with my first business, we built everything and we had staff in the office. And I remember taking our first vacation to the Bahamas, and I installed cameras all over the office. Like I was so obsessive. I'm like looking and then texting let's say my assistant, I'm like, why are you painting your nails in the office? Like, what the fuck? You know, like I'm not paying you to sit on your ass and paint your nails. You know, like I couldn't disconnect, and then I'd reprimand. And that's another thing, is you can't micromanage people. You got to give people room to be leaders and step into their true potential. And that requires extreme awareness as a leader in and of itself.
Now, when you're bringing on people and you're hiring people, what is the biggest shift you've realized from the last few years and stepping into heightened levels of success and being around like billionaires, like, and how they're operating, of when bringing on the right people in your inner circle that you can trust to pick up the weight so that you can focus on more important things?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And that's another huge lesson, actually, is realizing that a lot of people will tell you they're cut out for this success. They're cut out for being an entrepreneur, but then people don't show up. Like they will do all the talking and then they're gone maybe within a few weeks. Like that excitement fades because, you know, the real work sets in, and then it becomes like, it's like New Year's resolution, right? Like you go and make a commitment to the gym to lose weight, and then a month into it, that excitement fades and then you're back to your old routines. It takes a special type of person to commit, to do the work, to show the loyalty, to show the grind day in and day out. And you know, I remember like even with the real estate team now, like I'm like, why are people not showing up? I just don't get it. Like I'm giving you guys all of the information, all of the mistakes, like what is wrong with people? And then I realized, like, you know, some people are on a different stage of their life and they have to go and realize that for themselves. There's only so much I can do. And I learned that from Elena, because I was getting frustrated. I'm like, Elena, why is this happening? And she's like, keep doing you, keep putting in the work. The right people will be showing up and earning your attention by constantly putting in the work. And that's something that was a huge shift for me, because like I want to save the world. I want to hug the world. And actually that is, you know, like it's damaging. You can't hug and save everybody. People need to want to be saved and want to learn to be successful. Success is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of hours where you're not getting paid. You're going to have to believe that one day all of this work is going to pay you tenfold, hundreds, you know, like millions of dollars. And you have to truly believe that. And that's in faith that you have to have within yourself that you're capable of.
Yeah, it's powerful. And one thing I learned too is we weren't even designed, like God didn't even create us to save anybody. You know, like it just to serve and support and to give our hand, but it's not our job to save anybody. And somebody mentioned in the chat about like purpose versus motivation. I don't know if you've seen the difference, but recently when I started hiring people and hiring a team, it came down to core values. So I don't hire for skill anymore. I hire for core values. Because skill can be taught, core values can't.
Yep, exactly. And that's something, again, going through all of Yelena's trainings with Build Your Empire masterminds that I've been learning. And we have access, if you're in real estate, we have access to this platform that Yelena's building. It's Cardone World. And we have all these courses in there on focusing on core values. Who do you represent within you? Like, what does that mean to you? And that's something I think that the world needs more of is because people are lost. Like, people go to college, right? Like, you got the system, they go to high school, and then you go into the world, and then you have no structure. You kind of now go be. And if you are not plugged into the right community where you have like-minded people with similar core values, you're gonna drift. And like a huge cruise ship, right? If you're not paying attention, that ship will crash right away. Like, you won't even realize it. So like hitting something hard, like if you're on a, on an intercoastal, for example, and I didn't realize that. And they don't teach that in college. I went to college. I got the whole American dream. I got the house, I got the fence, I got the husband, got the business. And I realized, like, they don't teach any of that.
Yeah.
And I felt empty in my late 20s. And oh my God, is there more? Is this all you got for me? And then boom, gone.
Well, these new generations, I think they have more options that, I would rather be taught by somebody who's actually living it, doing it, have it, versus somebody reading about it. Because it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. Be around people that have a track record, right? Who have been consistent, and that's your circle that you want to be around. And yeah, I mean, some people kind of got that wisdom, that foundation, and some people are going through it and figuring it out. I went through a breakdown, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun after I lost everything, and I got around the wrong crowd of people that just wanted to party and just have fun and be fabulous. And I partied, and it was fabulous, like really wealthy partying. And but it was empty. Like, it got tiring. Like, why am I doing all this for? I'd rather be around people that are actually achieving something and then celebrate those wins, partying. Like, when we had like Grant's birthday party, or Elena's birthday party, right? Like, you were celebrating like true achievers, people that actually get it. They get it. They have the core values. They have their purpose. They put in the work day in and day out. Their conversations are intentional. I want to be around that all day long.
Have you noticed a difference in your life? You mentioned unfulfilled. It seems like you have a lot of fulfillment these days. Have you noticed a difference by changing your inner circle and how you're showing up in life and the table that you're sitting at? Because one of the main reasons that the show was created was it was like, you know what? Sometimes you are going to remove everything. Or God says, like, rejection is God's redirection. And sometimes that table is going to be empty for a while. But the cool thing is we have the ability to create our own table or work our way and earn our way to sitting at elite tables with other people. So have you noticed a big difference when you changed the tables that you were sitting at? And how did you even get at that table anyway? I mean, I know you earned your way. You are a boss woman. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know where I got this principle from. As a young kid, I used to pursue acting, and I was working on a movie with Drew Barrymore, music and lyrics. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. I was on set, and I remember just always wanting to break the rules. I was an extra actress, and I'm like, I need to get close to someone of power. I just need to get close, talk to them, just whatever. So I remember sneaking out and just like finding a reason to go talk to the producers or the directors or some of the other main actors in the film. And I don't remember who told me this, but they're like, always go and do something different. Don't be part of the herd, right? Go stray a little bit, go play with fire a little bit. And that's always been kind of my motto. And I remember when I went to my first Grant Cardone conference, I got, I didn't get diamond seats, but I think it was premiere, and I was invited to some like parties. And I remember Yelena launching her book at that event and being in such close proximity and just feeling, I feel people's energy. That's one of my things. It's like my sixth sense. I
Your
feel
superpower.
yeah, I feel people's energies, and sometimes like it could be great and sometimes it could be a curse because it can drain me really fast. But at that event I got close and I'm like, wow, like this is real. These people are real. I want more of it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And I think COVID like came around a year later, and then Yelena was doing her support calls, like her mentorship calls, and I just kept showing up. I kept showing up. I kept listening. And then when she got her real estate license, I was actually working on a reality show at the end of COVID. I'm like, I got to get Yelena on here because she's passionate about helping people like I am. And I went to tell her about it, and she ended up recruiting me into EXP. And I'm like, okay. And then things went sideways with the reality show. And I'm like, wow, God had a specific plan for me to get close to Yelena, to now we're working together and supporting each other on our missions, and it's amazing. But yeah, you got to learn to kind of not always follow the rules. Get in front of people, go buy the expensive ticket, because one of the things that I learned is like the more money you spend to go to an event, the more you take in. You write every note, you ask the right questions, you want to get closer. You like that excitement is there. I've been given free stuff before, and I don't appreciate it as much when I spend money on it. And that's, I think that's another thing that people want in life, is they want something for free. Right? Like after my divorce, I wanted to be rescued. That reality doesn't exist. You got to rescue yourself. If you're waiting for somebody to rescue you, you are fucked. You're fucked. You're like, you dig a grave and just jump in, because that'll never happen. Unless you stand up and start being a warrior of your own life, you will not succeed, and you will not thrive. And that's something that I learned. So go fight for those tables that you want to be at.
And look, I mean, it seems like, I mean, that's even when I met you, because we met at that live event, and I actually got there because I paid for promo from the Connect Network TV. Have you heard of them? Now I'm ended up friends with Natalie. She's coming down in September, but I paid for proximity and got in. Then Sandy was on the show in my business, and she's doing amazing things. And then Sandy invited me to the event, and I met you at the event.
Yep, exactly.
So it all like, you know, pieces together. I'm like, you do have to pay for proximity, and people are going to know that person paid, and that's like, okay, this is more value.
Yeah.
So,
and you're more aware to receive when you pay to go to those events, you know. I remember I'm just going to give you a quick little story. I was dating this guy who was, you know, he helped wealthy people with a specific business. And I remember he's like, oh, Kristina, we got to go to this event. We got a free ticket, blah, blah, blah. And the tickets are $1,500 to this mega mansion for this very, very important person in our community, in politics. And I remember for some reason, he calls me, he tries to convince me to go, and how many important people are going to be in that room, and I need to go and network with them. And then last minute, he's like, oh, apparently the tickets are not free. I have to pay $1,500, so we're not going. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll pay $1,500. You spend time, enrolled me in it. That must be important. I'll pay $1,500 to go for my ticket. You can pay for yours. He refused to pay for it. And then he, like, to me, it showed me his character, like, but it showed me mine too. Like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get in front of people, to connect with them. And that network brought me to a $14 million deal that I got the opportunity to work, and then got closer to more people, right? Like, you gotta pay to play. And if you really pay attention to all the wealthy people, they all support one another by buying into their products. Like, I always wondered when I was younger, I'm like, do these people actually get stuff for free since they're all so wealthy? No. How do you support one another? You buy into their products. You connect them with other people that their businesses can actually benefit from. So that was a huge distinction for me.
Yeah. And even like when my friends are launching things, I think the best way to show, I mean, if you have the financial funds, of course, is they like my friend Naja, she just launched like clothing, gym clothing. So I bought like a bunch of gym clothes from her from OSNAP. Her and her husband also owns OSNAP. And I was like, hey, I love the pants, love the workout, because I really do. And that was my supporting. Even Bobby, she created with a product for red light therapy for skin tightening. She launched it as the first one to buy. I was like, where can I get it? You know, and it's not that expensive, but it just shows like, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's how we support each other. Yeah. If you can afford it, of course, you know.
Or if you can't afford it, serve your way until you can. The thing, here's another thing is, I feel like a lot of people hold on to their money so tightly. Again, these are beliefs that were wired into us from a very young age. And, you know, like, and we don't realize it, right? Like, we don't realize, like, wow, we have all this money, like, that we can play with and invest into ourselves, and we hold on to it like it's our life depends on it. But this is a scarcity mindset, right? And this is something that I had to learn to overcome for me personally, because I used to hold on, like, after I lost everything. I mean, I lost everything, like everything that I built, like business, right, marriage, but like I still had money. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm counting pennies. I'm holding on to this house. Like, oh my gosh, I need to provide for my kids. I was living from scarcity, right? But I was spending money left and right. I wasn't putting the money to work into the right things to make it work for me in a more productive way. I was just like, it was a comfort thing in your mind. So like, you want to make sure that you invest your money that's going to produce something more, whether it's a growth within you, a growth within a business. One of my other things that I love investing into people. Like, I was telling a story recently, my brother-in-law, you know, was struggling with depression. I remember, like, I don't like to buy presents sometimes because I see a need. I'm like, here, why don't you go to college and try a course? Here's a gift from me to you. I'll pay, go do it. And then that changed his life. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be in tune with what the people around you need, especially if they're going to use it. So yeah, I think supporting one another, but yeah, serving, doing the work, if you don't have the money, is super, super important too. Cause for me, people that just show up and show me that they're dedicated and doing the work, that to me is priceless.
Hey, it's Tanya. I'm calling a quick timeout intermission huddle, so bring it in. I'm personally inviting you to our inner circle. It's our monthly VIP meetup with other achievers just like us. Each week, I'm teaching everything you're going to need in order to be successful, to step into the most elite version of yourself. I'm going to break this down play by play, the tools, the systems, the strategies, everything you're going to need in order to operate at higher levels mentally, physically, emotionally, and energetically. Look, we're in a season where the idea of full potential just isn't cutting it anymore. It's time to really be it now. So click the link in the show notes and I'll see you in the inner circle. Peace. Yeah, and that's also a form of investment, as you mentioned. And one thing that you were talking about earlier about like just consistently showing up and not understanding why people can is one thing that I learned, and I don't know if you see this as well, as when we talked about like bringing people on for core values versus skill set, was that not everybody is capable of fulfilling. And you mentioned that earlier. I think that was a really important topic, because that also comes back to taking personal responsibility. As you mentioned, nobody's coming to save you. Like, you're not a victim. You have to save yourself. You have to, you know, figure it out. And taking that personal responsibility. You said, you didn't say seasons, but you said something about people are in different segments in their life.
Stages. Yep. They're in different stages of their lives.
Their life. Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the things I think I wanted to ask you about was on not everybody's capable. Do you feel that has a lot to do with not knowing how to take care of self? Because this whole thing too is about the core of you and then the extension of everything that you're doing. But that's an extension of what you're doing. It's not who you are. It's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I'm a social human being. When I
Mhm.
went through my traumatic experience, I closed up, I stopped communicating with people. I was afraid to ask questions. I think one of the biggest things, and maybe perhaps a misconception, and I had it too, is people forget to ask questions to other people. You know, like sometimes a human being just needs to have a conversation where they will develop a thought that'll help them grow in their own personal life,
Mm.
right? Like, hey, how are you? I'm great. Thanks for asking. You know, like that's not a conversation, right? Like you want to have a conversation like, hey, I saw you were working on this deal the other day and you looked really like frustrated. Like that's a genuine quality question where
Mm.
you can actually enhance someone's life because you acknowledge they went through it, right? Like, and then you add value. You're like, oh, you look so much better today. How did it turn out? And then I think people need to ask people genuine questions and be present. I struggle with this so much these days. Like my brain is like in the universe around me, sometimes hovering over me, and it's being present has really, really become a challenge because I'm moving so fast. And then, I notice like sometimes I'm like making decisions and my team's not understanding why I'm making decisions. And I'm like, can't you just read my mind? Like I thought I explained it to you. Like, and they're like all frustrated because I'm like already like 100 feet ahead with my decision making. Anyways, like being truly intentional, asking questions of meaning, because people, in order for people to grow, you need to ask questions. I used to talk at people to hopefully they hear you, but if you don't ask the right questions where they come to their own understanding of why they're doing something, they will continue to be in that loop. So this is like, one of the things is like my team's learning how to communicate with me because they're learning how to help me grow to the next level. And that's with questions. So I
Mm.
think that's like super, super powerful. If you want to add value to people, ask them genuine questions and be present with them. Because for me, when somebody asks me a question, it my mind comes alive. Like I get ideas, I get, thoughts start flowing. And that to me is just like, wow, like that's a gift because you got my attention because now I have to think about it.
Mm. What would you say some of your daily, you mentioned this earlier in the conversation, because you are for sure, like if anybody watching or watching your plays, you can be like, you for sure are a high-end achiever. Like that is no question. And every moment that I see you, I watch, you've got the consistent flow of like, I'm sure sometimes you mention you burn out, but you're like, your energy is everything. And what would you say some of your non-negotiables that help you operate at the high levels of energy that you operate at, that you're like, this is a non-negotiable, and the days that you miss it or you skip it, you do feel an impact?
Like a non-negotiable in my day or in
Yeah,
just
like your daily routine, your ritual, your habits, for more of like for you, like how
yeah.
you take care of you.
Yeah, so for me, I have to get 7 hours of sleep. Like if I don't get 7 hours, I'm not a nice person. I'm just grumpy.
Really? You?
Yeah, I mean, there's time of my month when I'm a complete beast and I will just not be, get laser stares at people. But if I don't get that sleep, I can be like that on a regular basis. So sleep is extremely important to me. Water is really important to me. Being intentional, this is something I'm also practicing, being intentional with my food. I grew up poor, so as a kid, I starved to the point where I felt like I was dying. And my grandma had like a metal chain around her fridge to make the food last longer. So like I had a very messed up relationship with food because when I moved to America, there's so much of food and I'm like, oh my gosh. And
Mm.
I didn't understand the processed food and all that. So now I'm building a healthier relationship with food and being intentional, and not trying to just eat to like, oh, my body needs it, versus like, no, food has energy and it's going to nourish my cells
Mm.
and help me feel more energized. So that's a non-negotiable, just really being focused with my meals. And then working out like every day. I need to move. If I'm not moving, I feel it. I feel my brain is not as sharp. I'm not good at making decisions. My decisions are slower. Um, for people around me, I really want like really high quality, like loyal people with core values. Like I'm so protective of my energy now. I used to like want to be around people. Now I'm very picky about who I want to be around. So that's kind of a little bit of wisdom of like non-negotiable. I can't be, if I go into a room and it's not my people, like I leave. I can't. It drains me. I remember my girlfriend, we went to New York one year with my girlfriend, and I protect my energy, and I'm okay with Ubering around. And she, for some reason, just for fun, decided to Uber like a share thing. And there were these weird people in the car, and I got so drained from them. And we were going to this event. So when I got to the event and there was more people around the event, I had nothing to give. And I went to the bathroom, and I just had a breakdown. Like I was on the floor crying because these people just like, it started from like this, again, I feel energy and it drained me. So I protect my energy. So when I show up, I'm my fullest and I can give people my full attention. And yeah, that has been extremely important to me, is to be in the right circles of people and protect my energy.
Yeah, it really is real. I mean, I'm the same. And that's why my yoga practice is a non-negotiable. My exercising, it helps move energy and it helps reset your energy, meditation, breathing. So I 100%, it's real. And it's one thing is, for a long time, I think because you're such an extrovert at the same time, that a lot of times when you go into like a energetic hibernation to recalibrate yourself, typically it's like your alone time, right?
Yep. It's another thing that I guess like you saying that triggered is like when you're around a lot of people, like I realize I need to make time in between. Like we have a lot of events with Elena and Grant, right? I always get my own room. I always get my own room because I know when I'm in those rooms, I give and communicate and receive, and you know, you're constantly exchanging energy. So I realize that I need to have 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes of solitude, and I had to force myself to be still so that way I'm not frantic, because that has happened before and I didn't understand why it was happening to me. And that's because now I need to practice being still, not have any movement around me, not have anyone talk to me or ask me questions. And that was a huge realization last year for me. And I practiced that too. It's learning, hey, I'm not good at travel. I'm great at traveling with people, but I'm better when I got my own space, and I encourage others to do that too. I mean, if you don't have the money and resources, I totally understand. Yeah. But you know, if you can,
bathroom breaks.
Yeah, you gotta focus on like being still. That is like it's like recharging your battery.
Mm-hmm. I love that you say that because when I'm around a lot of high-end achievers or entrepreneurs, and you know, all of them have like that like anxious energy. It's like little like gremlins ready to come out in any moment. And one of the first things I always like recommend, you're laughing because it's true, you know.
I've been there. I've experienced it.
Me too. And everybody's like, how, you're so calm now. I was like, it's been a lot of years of conscious practice. And one of the biggest things that I find is so hilarious is, and I'm so happy you're bringing this up, is a lot of times like I can't sit still. My mind races too much. I'm like, that's why you have to practice the art of sitting still. Mm-hmm. You know, and how you explain that. But what was the biggest shift and the biggest difference? What you mentioned, you noticed it just changed last year. So that's really recent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last year, a lot of things started happening last year because remember, we went from being COVID and locked up, and which I absolutely enjoyed because my personality, I want to be at every event. I want to shake every hand. That was me before COVID. And then I gave myself a break because the whole world stopped. And I didn't feel this pressure that I need to go out and network, and I don't need to go out and be at every event. So I felt like this pause was so soothing and like it relieved so much pressure. And I think during that time, I realized how important it was for me to be still, and how important it was for me to be intentional with my energy. And it was like God teaching me, right? Because he was preparing me for my next season, which is partnership with Yelena and everything that we're doing with her. And like we're doing the Wealth Mastermind on Friday. I'm so excited because a lot of the women and men that come, it's just so like we're all an understanding of what it takes to build wealth, right? And a lot of that involves being still and being intentional with your energy. There are times when you go 100 miles an hour, and there are times where you got to be, okay, so now sit and be with you and be with your energy and your mind, heart, soul, and spirit, you know?
So what do you feel like, what are some like healthy tools? Because a lot of times people think like they have to always take action, and you're actually saying the opposite, or finding that fine balance between the two, or knowing when to prioritize. I personally don't believe in balance. Do you believe in balance?
I don't believe in balance. I believe in listening to who you are as a human being, right? And that's, again, going back to COVID, that taught me that, Kristina, you need to slow down in order to speed up. If you don't slow down, you're not going to speed up and be consistently going. You're going to crash. And I've done that before. With my first business, I remember like building and building and building and building. And I had a newborn. And I remember like my body just like one day I'm at the office taking care of our patients. And all of a sudden my totally normal. And then my body went to 104 degrees, like really fast. Like really fast. And we're in Florida, and I'm like shaking like this. Like I was like shaking. And my teeth were clacking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's going on with me? And that's me going fast and not taking care of me and being still. And I remember going into my car, which was like 105 degrees from the sun, and I'm trying to warm up, and I couldn't. And I couldn't go back to the office because I looked like I was having a seizure. So that to me frightened me. And when I started with the real estate, that reminder is always there. So I practice being still, because I don't want to me, that's burnout. That to me was like, my body's like, you need to rest. You need to rest like now. And now you got to be intentional, because high achievers, we're always going to be working. We're always going to be looking for a way to get things done faster, more efficient. But the only way we can do that is if we rest and allocate time for that. I think every single day, to take care of our vessel here, our car.
Yeah, take care of ourselves. You mentioned the exercise, the water, the prayer, the mind, body, soul, the mind, body, spirit, and that self-care is a big part of it. And I think because a lot of people, it freaks them out, because one thing is, you know, you can become addicted. Like addiction comes in so many different forms and shapes, and you can become addicted to action, as you're talking about.
That was me.
Yeah. Everybody. Girl, I only know because I know. Only talk what I know about.
Exactly.
That's another reason why I wanted to like bring women like you on, is celebrate, to see like there are certain patterns in order to operate at a certain level. And, you know, you've operated a different way for so long, and it didn't work or serve you anymore, to be able to have the endurance to be operating at even higher levels now. And I think a lot of people are afraid to slow down, because they feel like they're being lazy, or they're going to like not be as productive. And so what you're saying is actually the opposite. In order to be more productive and take more action, you have to slow down and take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I struggled with this as of recently. And it's not like slow down, guys. Like if you're high achievers and you're listening to this, and you're, you know, like it doesn't mean like, oh, take it easy throughout your day. Like make time for you. Like morning for me is super important. Is for me to be clear and present with my thoughts, but also wind down towards the evening too. So it doesn't mean to slow down in your work life or, you know, the goals you're going after, right? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice during the day? Like, I realize, you know, like I love going out to restaurants. That to me is me time, but it takes time out of my day. Like, what else can I do to be present without blowing money, wasting time, and do it efficiently in smaller amount of time? So, right, like when I'm stressed or like I have all these problems that I need to solve, like I go for a walk, I breathe, I take my dog, I go for a walk, I breathe, or, you know, like take 10 minutes for you. Right? Don't go scrolling through social media or YouTube or whatever your social addiction is. Turn it off. Like, this really, really works. It's so powerful to like practice this. I can't believe we're even talking about this, but because I remember I was in college and I'm like, we didn't have these problems. I studied broadcast journalism and they were talking about like, okay, we're going to have everything digital and people are going to be obsessed with it. And here we are. People do have huge obsessions with them, you know, but it takes away from the quality of your life. So.
Yeah. And that's why, like, the healthy tools that you mentioned, what I found to be true is that, and please add to this, whether you agree or disagree, it's very conversational. So I'd like to hear your insight. What I found about this is that a lot of times the avoidance behavior, which is another form of procrastination stems in three segments: overwhelmed, not feeling safe to move forward, and avoidance behavior, which creating distractions, like, and then it becomes a habit and an addiction because we don't want to deal with ourselves, or we don't know how to sit with ourselves, or we don't know how to, you know, maybe we're experiencing pain, anxiety, depression, sadness, and we don't want to deal with self. And so we numb or avoid to distract through
In there.
Different, everybody, me too. Food, alcohol, social media,
going out, being around people that don't serve you.
Yeah, toxic relationships, conversations, just because you don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Now I love
see that.
Alone.
Yeah, I used to not want to be alone because first of all, like, I've never been alone in my life. Like, I went from being in a family of 5 kids, being the oldest, taking care of everybody, to being married at 18, and like I never lived alone. So actually I'm learning how to do that in the last literally 2 years, how to be alone, how to be okay being alone. And that's a beautiful thing. And I know a lot of people are scared of it. I was myself petrified of being alone, but now I just see how much power there is if you just literally sit with yourself, like, you know, practice, you know, doodling, writing your goals down, listen to some soft music, light a candle, put on, I don't know, whatever music you like, and just
romance yourself.
Yeah, like create an environment you want to be in. This is powerful because whenever there's chaos in your life, you'll be able to handle it because you know how you show up for you when you're alone, and that is peaceful. You're showing up peaceful. You can create a loving environment for you. You can create a powerful environment for you. You know, you can do some stretches. You can work out. I have dumbbells from COVID like all over my house because for me, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to practice strengthening one muscle at a time because the gyms are closed, you know? So find a way, like, what excites you? And if nothing excites you, like, who do you know in your life that inspires you, and then go model after them, you know? Running from you is a catastrophe. I've done it, you've done it, and it doesn't get you to where you want to be because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to what you truly need by filling it with the wrong people, with the wrong information, with your wrong thoughts. When you're lying to yourself, you're not being authentic. And when you're not authentic, you're not living your full potential. You're not living to the life that you're meant to have. And I've been there. I don't want it anymore. I'm very intentional, very spiritual. And I know people, you know, this is going back to people, right? I can't save them. They have to want it. They have to seek it. And this is where you have to ask them questions. Like, what do you want out of your life? Like, what are your goals? Are you happy with the life you're leading?
that's a hard question, you know, especially when somebody's not even connected to themselves. It's kind of like, who are you? I'm like, I did a live with a woman who specializes in hypnosis, and she's done a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza and stuff like that. And I was like, that's such a challenging question for somebody who's literally feels like they're in a hole, you know, in a really dark hole. And I know that with everybody talking about the things that are coming up and this and that, it's like you can go one of two ways. And the best way to build yourself, just like when we got out of COVID, is people were either in a good space or a bad space, because that was a time we really we had to sit with ourselves.
Yeah. And I love that time. I didn't realize how much I loved being alone. It was wonderful. And yeah, for other people, I know that people came out realizing there's got to be changes done, but asking the right questions, you know, like sometimes I ask people how they remember how we met. And like, usually it's like, what are your goals? What is your purpose? What do you see your life, you know, how are you going to fulfill your life, make it meaningful? And most people don't think like that. Like most people, they're like, oh, wow, like your question's really powerful. Like, you know, like, and it made me realize how, you know, it's important to ask those questions, because when you ask somebody that question, their brain starts thinking. Right. And that's going back to like, hey, if the one gift that I can leave you with is pour into you, meaning ask you the right question that's going to like open your mind a little bit to receive, and then push you or turn your life into a little bit different trajectory than you could have ended in being like stagnant in the same place, you know? So I want to add as much as I can to people, whether it's in real estate, whether it's through people that I meet through all the events, or just my team that I get to be around, not only pour into them, but they pour it back to me, because it's a reciprocity, right?
Yes. And you actually, I think you kind of answered the last question, man. I can't believe it's already been a whole freaking hour. Like, it went by so fast. I love these conversations. But Kristina, if there was one last piece of like golden insight, like you dropped these diamonds, so many diamonds you dropped in everybody today, but if there was one thing where somebody could feel like actually capable of taking inspired action today and expanding on that every single day, like just a simple space to start, what would one piece of advice be for somebody to elevate their business, their mindset, and overall their life?
So one of the things that I love this question. One of the things that I learned to trust in the times of despair that I've been through, in the times of chaos, and I remember this voice of goodness, right? Like in my mind. So one thing that I've learned to trust is lean into that voice of goodness and follow it. When things are falling apart, when things seem chaotic, I learned to trust it more and more, because that's what pulled me out of the despair. So lean into that voice. It's powerful. And then the second thing I would say is, whatever you're carrying around that needs a decision and you're afraid to make that decision, like make a decision. Stop worrying how it's going to turn out. If it turns out one way, great. If it turns out the other way, great. Stop worrying about it. Just make a decision, release that. Because a lot of us carry all this around and we are not moving forward because we're petrified of whatever the outcome is. And I've been there. So when you start making decisions, give yourself permission to make that decision and stop worrying about the outcome. Trust the outcome is going to be exactly what you need it to be. And if it's not, there's a reason for it. It's going to push you in the direction or pull you in the right direction for your life to expand and grow.
Woo! Thank you so much. That was so powerful. I was
Thank
like,
you.
oh, we had like a whole TED Talk here.
I know.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for our listeners and for those viewers coming on today or watching the replay. This will be saved. I know I saw some people commenting of if it will be saved, this will be saved. And just drop a comment below. What's that one piece, that one golden nugget, that one diamond that you found so much value in today's live stream? We want to hear your comments. Make sure you like this video, share it with other people that you know are going to find value. And Kristina, you have events coming up. Can they find that on your page?
Yes, if you guys, so right now, I'm going to Build Your Empire Wealth Mastermind with Elena this Friday. If you're interested, I'm also looking for top realtors, anybody that wants to be part of my team and take their career from good to great. I'm looking to speak with you. And then anybody that's looking to buy or sell real estate, come let me know, because I'm going for icon status within my organization, which is a very prestigious award. I'd love your help. And this is just not in South Florida. It could be all over Florida. I'd appreciate any referrals. And Tanya, you're amazing. I'm so grateful we finally got on the live, and this was so much fun.
And we're neighbors now.
I
We gotta
know.
do something productive. We can go to a yoga or something like that and like center ourselves.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the live. Thank you all for joining us. Until next Tuesday, remember to elevate your business, your mindset, and your life. Bye.
Bye.